Former GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley said that she'll be voting for former President Donald Trump. After all, let's watch.
Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump. Having said that, I stand by what I said in my suspension speech. Trump would be smart to reach out to the millions of people who voted for me and continue to support me, and not assume that they're just going to be with him.
It's a reversal from the way Haley, Trump's former UN ambassador, bashed him just a couple months ago. Let's watch.
Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump. Having said that, I stand by what I said in my suspension speech. Trump would be smart to reach out to the millions of people who voted for me and continue to support me, and not assume that they're just going to be with him.
But let's not forget the way Trump talked about Nikki Haley, too.
A little note to Nikki. She's not going to win. She's not going to win. But if she did, she would be under investigation by those people in 15 minutes. And I could tell you 5 reasons why already. Not big reasons. A little stuff that she doesn't want to talk about. A woman that is not capable of doing this job. I know her very well. She's not tough enough. She's not smart enough. And she wasn't respected enough. She cannot do this job. Haley is the candidate of globalists and warmongers who want to spend trillions and trillions of dollars on endless wars. She's always in favor of fighting wars. Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never-Trumpers, Americans for No Prosperity. Did you ever hear of Americans for No Prosperity?
Nevertheless, Team Trump seems eager to welcome her back into the fold. Top Trump ally and potential VP, Senator J.D. Vance, said he was happy to have Haley voters return to the fold. Let's watch.
My message to people, whether they voted for Joe Biden in 2020, whether they were on the other side of the Republican primary in 2024, is welcome. We need all hands on deck to defeat the Democrats and take back this country. It's just too crazy, and we want to return to normalcy. So I know a lot of people are going to attack Nikki Haley for not getting on board sooner. My attitude is we're thrilled to have Nikki Haley's support for the Republican Party in 2024, and anybody who just wants to go back to low inflation at home, peace all over the world, and common sense at all layers of government. So please.
All right. So I don't know that this is especially surprising news. We've seen so many people mocked, derided, attacked by Donald Trump. Little Rubio, Meatball, Ron.
Ted Cruz, and on and on and on. They all fall back in line because they all want, I mean, not all of them, but if they want a future in the Republican Party, they must vote for Trump. You don't have to like every last thing about him, but you can't be antagonistic, wholly antagonistic to Donald Trump. You can't. You have no future in the Republican Party if you do that. So I'm not at all surprised to see this because Nikki Haley clearly wants a future in the Republican Party. In fact, she might want to run for president again as a Republican in the next cycle. Now, Donald Trump could run in the next cycle. I don't know what's preventing that, honestly. He seems to me to be the front runner for 2028, unless he wins this time. Or, maybe we'll change the Constitution, both. And who knows? Yeah. Maybe, we'll just get done with these.
Which is something that he's been joking about at rallies recently, much to the chagrin of Democrats. And I would argue, instead of talking about a video that says the First Reich in it, they should be maybe, if you're going to emphasize something, emphasize the fact that he's been joking about being a three-term FDR-style president. We want to talk about World War II.
Indeed. But Nikki Haley would like to run for president again, and so she must do this. It's not surprising at all. Politics is just politics. They're always attacking each other, and then Donald Trump as well changes his opinion of people or changes what he says about people once they do fall in line. He's not still out there bashing Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz.
No, but he will be passive aggressive about them.
He puts them in their place time. But he's largely quieted about Ron DeSantis, who he just railed against, humiliating language over and over again. Now he's like, remember the nickname is retired, Ron DeSanctimonious. Retired.
Well, but that's the kind of passive aggression I'm talking about. And on her end, Nikki Haley is not giving as, I think, enthusiastic an endorsement as some people would. And I do wonder if this is going to be enough to shore her up for a future in politics, given that she ran a really serious, more bruising battle against Donald Trump than a lot of other folks. Ron DeSantis dropped out a long, long time ago. And frankly, even when he was in it, I think he was much more careful than Nikki Haley to sort of tiptoe around him and not take direct hits. Nikki Haley seemed to be really running to win and, wasn't shy about drawing distinctions between herself and Donald Trump that are so easily papered over as just a matter of aesthetic difference or style. She was saying that there are real criticisms of Donald Trump. She I think, accurately criticized him for driving up the deficit, for instance. There were Republican debates, and she used those debates as opportunities to land some real blows against Donald Trump. Are Republicans at large willing to forgive that and move on past that if Donald Trump exits stage left from the American political sphere and creates room for people like Nikki Haley to try again? I think that's an interesting question.
4 years from now, I don't think it'll be held against her very much, given that she did ultimately come around and give Trump this tepid endorsement. It's not enough to be Trump's VP in this cycle, which he has said she's not under consideration. If she had gone maybe
Trump,
more in the more full-throated in her endorsement of Trump, she might.
It's not just Trump though. There's a whole Trump-aligned conservative ecosystem that has spent a year now really beating up on Nikki Haley, hitting her for her comments about, I do everything you do in heels or whatever, her kind of female identitarian arguments.
Yeah, Nikki Haley is nails on a chalkboard to the very younger online.
Treating her really a lot like Kamala Harris gets treated by, kind of the same cohort. And can you unwind that? I mean, they never had that same approach to Ron DeSantis. With Ron DeSantis, I remember seeing some Florida voters interviewed, and they would say things like, well, I like them both. I wish I didn't have to run against each other. I think that's fair enough. But that is not the same as Nikki Haley, who wasn't doing this kind of kid glove approach with Donald Trump, and who not only has to get the forgiveness of Donald Trump, but has to convince an entire right-wing ecosystem to treat her seriously again when they've spent so much time kind of clowning her and undermining her credibility and her kind of seriousness as a political entity.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot that Tucker Carlson, for instance, absolutely despises her. She comes from the more traditional Bush wing of the Republican Party. Her foreign policy views, which are the ones that seem to matter most to her, are well in line with a previous iteration of the party. Trump is constantly in flux on what he thinks on these issues, but the kind of true believer online right people who wanted to go more in a populist, anti-interventionist direction, at least on some foreign policy issues, they really don't like her, and she is very ideologically against them. So that will continue, yes, to be a factor, that she is a part of the party that is not nearly as in fashion as it was during the aughts. But, that's not the entire party.
And then if Trump really does disappear eventually, either because he wins a second term and isn't going to be able to get a third term, or because he is also an older gentleman, eventually all of these people are going to pass away, and Nikki Haley is still a young woman, will the choice to endorse...
Not according to Don Lemon.
Not according to Don Lemon. But will the choice to endorse Trump ultimately, is there going to come a day in American society where it will backfire, where it doesn't earn her very much here on the front end, and ultimately is something that she's going to have to live with for a longer political career than Donald Trump is going to have? It's
not that it earns her something, it's that if she didn't do it, she wouldn't be able to win.
Yeah, well, win what?
Primary.
I mean, that's the thing. We're talking about a perspective. It's not going to be anytime soon, either way, given how much she's been beat up on by the Republican political media establishment, or what is now the establishment, the MAGA wing that has taken over. So what is that really getting for her? I look at someone like Mitt Romney. I mean, there are people who choose not to endorse Trump, and it means there are consequences for that. But again, Mitt Romney is able to do that because he's at the end of his career and he doesn't care. But if someone like Nikki Haley truly has already dug herself into this hole, and I think that on some levels you could see her kind of commit to being against Trump in a way that nobody else has. And I think that's partly why she had more success than anybody else who's ever tried to go up against Trump. But that being the case, like switching horses now, I don't know. I think time will tell whether or not that ultimately was the right political decision.
I think it is, but time will tell. More Rising right after this.